Hey everyone, thank you for your patience. I am Zanade with Vote Run Lead, the Director of Digital Strategy. I am so excited about this talk that we're going to have tonight with Kimberly Jones. And I'm going to give everybody a second to join in. And if you have a question and you're on Facebook, you can just type it in the chat box. If you give StreamYard permission, we will see your questions right in the chat. And if you're on YouTube, same thing. Hey Star, I am so equally excited about this as well. But before we get into it, I do want to tell you a little bit about the exciting programming that we have. We are kicking off tonight with Kimberly Jones. And then tomorrow, wait till you see this. Tomorrow at 12 p.m., we have Mary Pat Hector, an activist. 12:30 p.m., we have State Rep Park Cannon from the Georgia House. At 1:15 p.m., we have our Vote Run Lead co-founder and board member, Rhonda Briggins, Elena Reeves. We have Nsé Ufot. We have in a panel moderated by Dr. Maria Boynton. And then at 3 p.m., very, very, very exciting remarks from Congresswoman Lucy Macbeth. And on Saturday, we have Rhonda Briggins back again from Vote Run Lead to give her remarks as well. So I hope that you can check us all out. It will be on Facebook Live and on YouTube as well. And here's a reminder, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube page, please, you can do that right now while we are waiting for Kimberly to join us. And yes, please send out your questions that you have. If you also haven't had a chance to see Kimberly Jones' amazing video with the Monopoly analogy about how we can win as a country and as a people and Black people, I also encourage you, we shared it on our Twitter page, that you take a moment and look at it. It is just masterful. Right. Okay, perfect. And 1 second, let's just see if she's on. And also, we encourage you, if you have any questions for any of the other speakers that we are featuring tomorrow and Saturday, please send them in. You can post it on Facebook. You can send us an email, and anything. We'll talk about it. Okay. Hey, Lisa. Good to see you as well. We love the Vote Run Lead community. If you are a part of the Vote Run Lead community, definitely send in a comment. As you can see, it's on the screen. We love to see that. We're always looking for feedback, and we're looking for, to hear from our alums. So we have amazing, amazing women who are a part of Vote Run Lead. All right. Oh, okay. Thank you for that question. Vote Run Lead is a women's leadership organization. Our mission is simple. We are training women to run for office and win. And as we've noticed in the news that a lot of women, especially Black women, today I read an article that over 40 Black women in Minnesota are running for office, which is exciting. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Now, I smile a lot, but today and right now at this moment, I'm like cheesing. So please forgive me. You're so dope. And here's a little disclaimer. I told my daughter, I said, have you seen Kimberly Jones' video? And she's just like, oh, what are you talking about? I show her the video. She's like, oh my goodness. I said, I am interviewing her. She's like, no way. So you have given me more cool points as a parent. Thank you. Kimberly Jones, welcome. Thank you. Let me give you some flowers. You are amazing. I know you know that already, and you're everywhere. So I'm so glad that you are on with us. And I'm just like, the whole entire Vote Run Lead is excited.
First of all, I'm such a huge fan of Vote Run Lead. Like, in my mind, I work there. So I'm like, oh yeah, I have to get on with my job. So
I love it. Oh, so then after this, we definitely have to talk more about how we can. Yeah, we have lots to partner with.
I've been working on pulling together my nonprofit, and like low key, I've been like jocking y'all and be like, what can I steal from Vote Run Lead?
Do it. Listen, no, I mean this organization is near and dear to my heart as well, and the leader, our founder, Erin Velarde, she is just amazing as well. So we welcome you, and any ideas you have, let's talk after this.
Yes.
But yes,
Yes.
first, before we get started, Erin said, "Amazing, you're hired." So
yes, I'm so happy. See, you got to shoot your shot. This is my chance.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it. Okay, so for those of people who are listening who, for whatever crazy reason, let me not say that, but for any reason they may not know who you are, can you just do a brief introduction?
Yes, my name is Kimberly Latrice Jones. Most people know me as Drake's mom. That's my son. I became Drake's mom 14 years ago, and in our community, that's who I am. I'm Drake's mom. But in my job life, I'm an author. I write young adult novels. My most recent novel is a novel, I'm Not Dying With You Tonight. That's told in dual narrative, oddly enough, set in the middle of riots. And also, I'm a filmmaker and an activist, community organizer, and just all around, like, what do you need me to do? I will do it person.
I love it. I love it. And I do want to say congratulations on the film. The book to film, I read about it. So congrats on that. That is dope.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's so will you have like creative control on the film itself?
I will, because I strategically worked it out that one of my good friends, Autumn Bailey, is one of the producers on it. So she lets me like chime in on phone calls and stuff, which is fun because authors don't normally get to do that. So
that's right. That's right. That is amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna jump right into this video. I have to tell me what exactly, because I get it. And on a personal level, I absolutely get it. And I love the Monopoly analogy. That's what my daughter was so hyped about. She's just like, yeah, she gets it, right? Like, like, what do you know, young and dumb? But tell me, what was that? Did that just come from your heart? Were you just, it's so passionate, right? It doesn't look like it was scripted at all. Tell us a little bit about it.
All. It's so funny. I'm like, I have officially made it because I've become a conspiracy theory. There's all these conspiracies that I was like planted in the movement and that it was scripted. And I'm like, I love that. Like, that's how you know you made it, when you're like part of this conspiracy engine. Next you're gonna say I'm in the Illuminati. Then I'll really know that I made it.
Yes.
Let me not say that. They'll take that sound bite and be like, Kimberly Jones said she was in the Illuminati.
Absolutely. She didn't mean it at all.
I did not mean it. It was just jokes, people. But it really came from a space of just like, I was super down that day about where we were in terms of everything in this country and in this nation and how things were turning out. And I was also very upset that I was noticing that the narrative was being redirected to what was going on in the unrest in terms of rioting and looting. And so it was giving people an opportunity to lose the most important piece of the conversation, was the death of men at the hands of police. And so I was just like, nah, we're not about to use this as an opportunity to spin Dr. the narrative in another way, the same way in which y'all took, Colin's peaceful protest and tried to make it seem like he was anti-American. Like, we're not going to do that. And so I had never framed it in that way, but the way that it was embedded in my system was twofold. One, I grew up in Chicago. I live in Atlanta, but I grew up in Chicago. And I spent quite a bit of time in after school programs at Rainbow Coalition, Operation Push, and also the DuSable Museum. But when I was at Push, there was a woman there, Reverend Willie T. Barrow, and she had given this lecture on the effects of slavery on economics. And for 8th grade, one of my favorite teachers in 8th grade had me learn that speech for an oratory competition. And that's the first time I won an oratory competition, was with that speech. And so it stayed in my soul my whole life, about the effects of, the ripple effects of slavery on economics to the modern African-American person. And then I had taught, there's an organization that I volunteer with called the Girls Who Brunch Tour that I absolutely love. It's an organization for marginalized girls between the ages of 7 and 18. And they travel the nation and they do workshops in different cities, particularly for girls in foster care. And so I taught them a class about finances and economics this year. And I used Monopoly as a way to teach it. And so we have been having conversations conversations about how wealth building works through the game of Monopoly. So I had not framed it in the way in which I had in that video until that moment. But I like to think that the ancestors just took over that conversation. And at some point, I was just a vessel. And that was a message that the world needed to hear in this moment.
Right. And that is I will say it's the next competition you won, right? Like that one, you definitely won with it. Absolutely. And you know what? It resonated with me so much personally, and especially with wealth building. You know, every time I see something, you know, I just tweeted out something today. They were taking down statues and all this stuff. The conversation behind that. I said, well, where's economic empowerment, right? You know, let's talk about economics, because we know that a lot of it is tied. This democracy is tied to money. And then thinking about what Vote Run Lead does, right? We train women to run for office, right? And we want them to win. And your stance is, how do we win? So here's a question I have about that. How in this moment right now, knowing everything that you know, everything you said in the video, everything going on, how do women win when they are going to run for office? And for Black women, how do we win? Because we are up against a lot if we were to run for office. Yep.
We are up against a lot. Well, first of all, I'm very grateful for organizations like Vote Run Lead, which is like one of my favorite. I was just talking to one of my consultants the other day, and she's like, I got to get you connected with Vote Run Lead. I'm like, done. I'm already doing something with them this week. So
bingo.
But one of the things that we do is that we have to run. We have to win, but also we have to support female candidates, particularly marginalized women, with our money. Like people, you know, we've been taught our whole lives that money is impolite to talk about money. So we're all afraid to talk about money, but we all need to talk about this money.
Lots of money.
Lots of money. Because by and large, women are not getting the donations that they need in order to win. And then once they get in and they win, they don't have the lobbying support that their male counterparts have in order to get some of their platforms through. And so we have to look at that. Like we have, now we have great things like Vote Run Lead that are helping women get in. But then once they get in, we need to continue to have financial support that's not shady for the females that are in Congress, that are in Senate, that are mayors, that are governors, so that they actually have the buying power. Because we all know how politics really work. Why everybody asking?
Oh yeah.
They have to have the buying power, and the financial backup of them has to continue once they're in office, so that they can get things done. The other thing is we have to promote Black-owned business and female-owned business. We have to make sure that they are having constituents in their communities that have the finances in order to stimulate their local economies, state economies, city, and global, because in doing so, again, it gives them something to work with. If you're in a very poor, marginalized community that has been redlined, and the people there can't grow and develop their community, then that has an effect on what you can get accomplished as a person who is serving that community. So we have to think about I'm a person, I'm always thinking about the money. I'm always thinking about the economics of the situation. And so for me, personally, that's where I want to see a lot of change. Like these female candidates, once we get them in, they still need money.
That's right. Let me hold up. You stay there. Let me move up too. All right. Money. That's what they need. Money. I'm with you.
They need more money. They still need some money.
That's right. That's right. That is great. Wow. Okay. So now I'm going to throw it back to you on, when are you running? Or have you thought about that?
Oh, God, no. I don't want to run. I don't want to run. I can't be vetted. I'm terrible. I'm just kidding.
This is a girlfriend conversation right now, y'all.
No, I don't have a desire to run. Kathy's going to try and make me run. I don't have a desire to run. Well, I tell you what I do have a desire to do, which is why I just took employment with Vote Run Lead about 10 minutes ago.
That's right. That's right.
what I do have a desire to do is nurture new candidates. Is find people locally who are viable candidates and make sure that they are getting the support that they need. Make sure they're getting the programming that they need, the training that they need, that they understand policy, so that once they get in office, they know how to get some things done. Because first on the job shenanigans we can no longer endure. Like your first government job shouldn't be president anyway. So, because
I'm with you.
you don't have a clue what's happening around these parts, trying to inject people with Lysol. So I think that is the thing that I am most excited for. And people ask me like who inspired me, and I have someone different for every section of my life. As an author, I'm most inspired by Zora Neale Hurston.
Right.
As a filmmaker, I'm most inspired by Robert Townsend. But as an activist and community organizer, I am most inspired by Rudy and Lupe Lozano, who was an amazing husband and wife team who infamously turned over seats in Chicago in the 1970s and 80s. And their big win was they got Harold Washington elected as the first Black mayor of Chicago. And my through line that I always say is no Rudy and Lupe, no Obama. Because
right.
Obama says that how he got inspired and how he came to Chicago to do community organizing was when he saw Harold Washington become mayor. But you don't get to be mayor without Rudy Lozano and his wife Lupe Lozano. So they were basically their own version of Vote, Run, Lead for Black and brown people in the 70s and 80s. And he is anybody who knows me knows that he's my greatest inspiration. I'm really good sons with his middle son, Jose. And I've told Jose his entire life, I don't know how I'm going to elevate the facts on what your dad did, whether it be a book or a movie, or I don't, me trying to replicate his movement and pick up the baton where he left off. But that is the person that I felt the most inspired by, because he made real change in Chicago at the time with what he was doing. And so I understand the significance of it. And we should all know that what he was doing was powerful and significant, because he was assassinated. And so that is a sign of the fear of how brilliant what he was doing was.
Wow. Well, I am definitely, I have all my notes. I hope y'all are taking notes. I always take notes. I think it's important. That was beautiful. Thank you for that. Okay. So talking about change right now in this moment, what should we be striving for as far as change?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think that now that we have the attention of the world, and that there has been a global response to this movement, and now the world is watching America like, what you gonna do now, America?
Right.
We are watching you, girl. We watching you on Bravo every night. Got my eye on you, America.
As it should.
Watching you. I think that now that we have this moment where the world is saying to us, what are you going to do next? I think now it's time for us to get organized and start implementing some legislation and some programming that is going to show the world view that we actually took advantage of this moment and made the necessary change while the climate was right in it. Let's strike while the climate is hot and ready for some real, or some real authentic, not lip service change. I think obviously, one of the first things we need to deal with is how we're being policed in this nation. There is a brilliant book called Policing, The Guardianship, Policing in the 21st Century by Dr. Cedric Alexander, that talks about how we've changed the way in which we police in the U.S. We used to have the friendly, neighborhood policeman who we ran ads trying to get more policemen, and he was like getting the cat out of the tree and helping old ladies across the street. And that's when we had, the guardians of the community that we deserve. Now we've created the warrior cop. Even the way in which we advertise to recruit people, it looks like a Rambo commercial. Someone sliding off the roof of the car and jumping down and standing on a bad guy's head. And I'm like, you're attracting people who want to do that to people, who want to slide off the roof of a car and kneel down on someone's neck and shoot someone in the back and beat people to the ground and choke people out. Like, you're attracting the personality that wants to function in that way. And so we need some real revamping of how we even train you. It takes you more time to get a barber's license than it does to become a gun packing police officer. I want people to settle on that. They require you to have more time to cut hair than they do to become a police officer and have the authority to shoot people. And so we have to think about that. We really have to revamp. I know that there's this big movement of defund the police. I think that that's bad marketing on that right now, right? I think the word defund is a non-starter for so many people that it's
Right.
already kind of like dead in the water, and we need to roll that back in and come up with a
That's
new
right.
plan. Because really what we're asking for is a reallocation of funds, and we're looking for, some restorative change to order
That's right.
in-house at the police level. We need to
Mhm.
have a conversation with these police unions who are so gung ho about. And I'm an artist, so I'm obviously pro union. But it's like, but
Right.
we also have to. There has to be some limit on the power that is given in these situations, because we're looking at people who are so invested in protecting their fellow officers that they're not really invested in doing the right thing. So we have to break up that monopoly of IA not being able to do their job. When you have people like the officers who were involved in the tasing of the young Clark students here in Atlanta, one of them was involved in a shooting 4 years ago with a case, Jamarian Robinson, which his mother has not received any relief from that moment, where they fired over 90 rounds at a child who they knew had mental health issues when they went to serve the warrant. And of course, he's schizophrenic. He's going to have an adverse response to people coming in his house.
Right.
They were given that information in advance and still fired over 90 rounds at him. 76 rounds hit his body, and it was proof that the last 4 rounds were fired with someone standing over him while he was cuffed. Then they drug his body down a flight of stairs and left him in the living room for 8 hours. And his mother has still not received an arrest or anything in that case. And now you fast forward 4 years later, now one of those officers is pulling college students out of the car and tasing them. So there's not a checks and balance
Right.
for IA to actually do their job because of the power of the union. So we just need to bust the whole thing up, revamp it, and fix it. I am not a person who is a proponent of getting rid of the police
Right.
entirely. I think that we need them, but I think we also need to take some things off of their plate. They should not be going to deal with mental health issues. They should not be going to deal with, two neighbors having a dispute on where the city line ends and who needs to cut what part of the grass. Like, you don't require an armed guard
That's right.
for those types of conversations. And so we need to take some things off their plate. We also need to revamp. They have military grade equipment. What do you need that for? If we get to the
Right.
place where we need the military grade equipment, the National Guard will come in and do their job. We have
That's right.
schools that don't have a nurse or a counselor, but have a police officer. Like, we gotta get
Yeah.
all these shenanigans together.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing we need to do, is fix what's going on in the police, because it's imminent danger to the black form right now to allow them to still run rampant in the way in which they do. The next thing is we have to look at the economics of America and how it has had an effect on African American people. And we have to get real about that conversation. And we have to start having some authentic conversations about restitution for the tomfoolery and shenanigans that's been going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I I'd have to say that was great, and I have so much to add. I'll save that for a later conversation. But I will say, as a former public school teacher, they need to refund because they've taken so much money away from a lot of agencies that need a refund, right? So
Yeah.
education, in my opinion, I'm even thinking about all the mental health clinics that they have closed down and where the money has been allocated. You're absolutely right. We need an
Yeah.
overhaul, and I get it. And I'm hoping that the women who are listening to this and the supporters who want to run for office think about these are the issues and how, and you mentioned earlier with legislation. Yeah, these are the issues that need to be dealt with right now. So thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to pivot a little bit. I don't have the exact number, but I heard that there are thousands, probably more than that, of teens who are turning 18 by next year,
Yeah.
right? And I see the power in youth. Can you speak? Because you did say that you worked at a youth group, right?
Mhm.
Yes, in Chicago.
Here in Atlanta.
Oh, in
Mhm.
Atlanta, right. So, how powerful? What's the power that youth have, and how could they help women who are running for office? Right. What are some things that we can utilize with them for?
First of all, the millennials and Gen Z are so much smarter than all of us that we should
Mhm.
all really just concede to them being in charge, and then we'll be in a better space. They're also
Exactly.
generally better human beings than the rest of us. And so again, we should concede, let them do what they do, and all of us Gen Xers and Boomers need to go, and the few greatest generation that are left should go somewhere and sit down and let these children run this thing. Um, and I say that because what we are what we are forgetting is that a lot of the old guard is really the old guard. When you look at some of these senators and congressmen that are like 70 years old, and you think about when they were born, guess what? They were around for Jim Crow, and they were active participants in that. If you think they don't still carry those same sentiments when they're making decisions about American citizens, think again, which is why we need fresh blood in there. Um, when you look at some of the senators and Congress people that we have now, when you look at their backstory, they ran for office for the first time at 22, 23, 24 years old in local elections. And that's where they begin to learn government and policy and where they got their feet wet. So we need more of that, particularly at the local elections, which to me counts more than the federal elections anyway, because that's the stuff that is being, affecting you in your daily life. And so we need to start grooming these young people for these seats. Although you may be 18 and may not be prepared to run, you are old enough to work on someone's campaign and start getting ready so that in 5 years you're up next and we're ready. Little Susie is ready to go and be the next person that is ready to run. Also, we live in the digital age where they understand the Snapchat and the Instagram and the Facebook and the Twitter and the TikTok and the blase and the boom boom chickity chat. And so look at what they did. Look at what the TikTokers, the effect they did to Trump on that rally. Like, you give them an assignment and they're ready to go. And that's one of the things that the older generation that we have to do is we have to start giving them assignment. I've been out there on the front line for the past 2 weeks, and there's a lot of energy, and that energy is youthful energy, and they are there, railing against the machine and ready to work. But what's missing is just a douse of wisdom to give them a little guidance and structure on what the next steps should look like now that we have the world's attention and we begin to organize. This is the part where, the youthful energy needs to match the wisdom of experience, of lived experience. And so we need to sit down and start having intergenerational conversations with these people who are excited and making sure that we're grooming them for office. And even if they're not running for office, that we are training them up in a way where it's natural for them to be involved, in politics and being aware of what's going on in the political world. And we can't have passive activity. This moment right here is too critical and too important. We have to show that we are giving each other actionable items. I posted on my Instagram the other day. I gave it on Tuesdays. I post an assignment every Tuesday. It's called the Tuesday Task, where I tell people what to do. And this Tuesday, what I posted to people was, I need you to research the DAs and judges in your district. And if you find anything shady, post a comment and then send a link where people can send that information. If you're in a county, post how to pull records in your county in case someone flips through here and needs to find it. I made everybody look up Rudy Lozano. And you would not believe the response that I got to that post. People were like, hey, there's a judge in my community who's been caught doing racketeering. What's the next step, Kim? How do we get them out? So people are ready to take advice and move forward, but we have to give them we have to give them actionable items and instructions. And people are over chit chat, small talk, and shenanigans talk and faking the funk for the sake of the gram. People want to know, what are we doing? How do we do it? I'm not the leader. It's not my responsibility to figure out. It's my responsibility to do my task. So we have to start tasking out these young people and involving them in situations where they are giving those tasks, and stop saying, well, you got the same Google I got, go look it up. No, we have to be strategic about the way in which we're moving. And so we can't just leave people to their own devices to start digging through all of the mush that is Google, hoping they're going to find the right piece of information. What are we doing it? How are we doing it? What is an actionable task that I can give you today that you can do to push the engine forward? And that's what we have to do with these young people, because it was a grandma on TikTok who told them to go and get all those tickets. And guess what they did? They did it.
Right. No question asked, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you're definitely Erin. She's hired. So okay, so we have a few more minutes. I want to hear a little bit about your nonprofit that you mentioned earlier. If you can share anything, what is it about?
It is not up and running yet. It is
right.
It is in progress, but it's going to be called the Georgia Leadership Academy. And basically what I'm going to be doing is looking to groom new young candidates here at the local level to get ready to run. Although I could easily just run a branch of Vote Run Lead, and
I'm
then
saying, so after this, yep, I got you. We need to talk. I think that's great. That's actually really, really great.
and then I
And
don't have to do all this work to start a whole new business.
I'm listen. Let's talk after. I think that's a great idea. So
Put it out there for anybody
no,
who's
and you
listening.
listen. You got to shoot your
Aaron,
shot, Aaron. Right? We're definitely gonna have that conversation because we are entering in Georgia. We are our board member and our co-founder Rhonda Briggins is in Atlanta.
nice.
So yeah. So we definitely need to further that
I'm not that
conversation.
good at working though, Aaron, but I'm really good at talking. So if you need a spokesperson,
Yes. No, listen, I think that's great. You have so much to say, and I think everything. I've taken so many notes, and I'm definitely going to. I want to this Tuesday task. I gotta jump on that and see what's up. Give my kids something to do. But is there anything else that you want to tell the Vote Run League community? Because this is going to be everywhere. I'm going to promote the heck out of this.
yes, I'm telling you, find out who the judges are and the DAs are
Mm,
in your community. Now, I know some of you live in states where judges are selected, not elected. But if you live, first of all, I was so disappointed when I went to the polls a couple weeks ago and almost all the judges in my district were running unopposed. Some of y'all are not good. How is somebody not running against y'all? Some of y'all are stuck. I need to get out of there. I don't want to click you to get to the next page. I don't think you deserve a click. Um, um,
Kimberly, I just want to say I'm in Staten Island, New York, and that happens a lot.
yeah, I'm like, we have to start thinking. They said I'm hired and I'm not kidding. Well, I got a
I'm
new job.
telling you,
I'm
girl.
done. This is my new job. As an employee of Vote Run Lead, I would like to say that one of the things that is where we really need to be paying attention, right? Because a lot of these cases where where these incidents are happening, people are not being prosecuted and things are not going where we're going. We have to look at some of these judges and see if they're giving, if they're giving harsher sentences to black and brown people. We have to look at some of these juvenile judges and see if they're giving harsher
Mm,
sentences to black and brown children. And we have to start getting serious about pulling these records and posting them in a very nonpartisan way. Like, this is their voting record. This is what they do. Here's the history. Because here's the thing: when you make a choice to be in leadership, you make a choice to be in leadership, and so
yep.
you have to recognize that your constituents have a full-time job. A child who these children nowadays have CEO schedules that they have to get to soccer and dance and ballet, and then they have to read 16 chapters of this book before the night is ending, and someone has to fix dinner, and now a raccoon got loose in the attic and you have to deal with that. So people don't necessarily, other than this slowdown period we've had with the pandemic,
Right.
people often don't have the time to do the deep digging that we need to do. And so people are saying, well, what can these young people do? Give them that task. Send them down there to pull records. Create a Facebook page that's just like to judge or not to judge. And you put the
Mm,
person's county and you put their record and you let people know. Someone said also don't forget about sheriff enforces policy and secretaries of state. Don't even get me started on secretaries of state that happened here in Georgia. And I'm in a class action lawsuit with a million other people whose vote didn't count with that tomfoolery that happened when we got who we got instead of the beautiful, delicious, and vibrant Stacey Abrams, who should be a VP, Joe Biden, if you're listening. Um, we gotta get serious about calling these people out and making sure that the people around us know who to vote for. I get text messages when it's time to vote from friends and family saying, Kim, who should I vote for? Um,
mm,
I am not your voting resource center, but there
mm.
should be a voting resource center where
Right.
all of that information is put in detailed and not one paragraph and is detailed. And there is a comment section where people can say, yeah, I was in front of that judge and he did this to me. And so
Ooh.
we have to be aware of what these people are doing. And we have to be aware of the laws that are important, especially like in a state like Georgia, where laws are made not by the city, but by counties. So
Yeah.
county to county, like marijuana has been one of the easiest ways in the world to lock up young brown and black people. And then
Right.
here in Fulton County, it was decriminalized, but it's not in DeKalb. So they can drive up 2 miles and get arrested for something they can't get arrested for in these counties. So we have to start looking at how we're going to implement state statutes when it comes to things like that are going to help communities. So we just got to get smarter about how we're disseminating information and recognize that people are, you don't need to put people down. People are too busy to do a lot of this digging. So let's all start doing a lot of this digging and make it and simplify it for people so that they can have access to the information so they can make informed choices about who's representing them. And I need all of the mommy groups in the US to pick one badass chick in your mommy group and make her run because she cares about the community. She's there. She's invested. She knows what they need. And we need to start talking to these school boards. The amount of people who saw my viral video and had never heard of the Tulsa massacre, which is crazy to me because it's the first time that napalm was dropped on American soil, is ridiculous. We need to put out a call to action to these textbooks companies and say, you need to update to a more authentic and an all-encompassing American history, or we're going to remove your books from our schools and we're going to do individualized education systems in order to get the proper information to kids. We got to this is our time. We are in a climate where we could get some work done. We cannot be passive. We have to be serious about getting structured and organized and making a list of all the people we got to go for. And I know it's a whole lot of people. It's a whole lot of y'all we got to come for. But we got to make a list and prioritize it and come up with actionable items for each section. And all of these corporations who are now changing their tune because they've watched this global response and know that they're not just, responding to the 13% of African Americans in this nation, that the world is like, I see you, America, what you're doing. I want to see some action behind these statements because you ain't been saying these statements, corporations. Now you're scared. Good.
Right.
Something to do.
I'm telling you, I read a Nielsen report about that, talking about the black dollar and how powerful it is, the $1 trillion, right? And it's just like, you gotta, if you want to market to them, you gotta make sure that you don't, the language in it was just like, make sure that you don't piss them off, right? And you have to fix that if you do, because then you hurt the bottom line. And essentially, I put that on all over social. I'm like, hey, basically what they're saying is, right? And you can call them out. Right? Because they're relying on your money.
Call them out. And now, again, it's not even just the black dollar. Our allies have made that all beautiful transition that Dr. Breonna McDaniel talks about from allies to accomplices. So they're no longer sitting on the couch tweeting. They're out there in the streets. They're making calls to arms. They're cussing out their drunk Uncle John because they've been sick of his racist crap since 1912, and now they have to quarantine with him. They're like, shut up, Uncle John, and watch Sonya Renee Taylor's video, and watch Kimberly Jones' video, and watch Tamika Mallory's video, and that's where we're at. So people have to recognize that our accomplices have gotten gangster. And they ain't playing with y'all. And they're standing with their black brothers and sisters. And they're like, I am here with them. And if you mess with them, you messing with me now. And they've been smart enough to know they need to listen and let us take the charge. And they're like, sis, what you need me to do? Because I'll punch Uncle John if you want me to. I'm like, don't punch Uncle John.
All right, we don't want to punch.
We don't want you to go to jail. You're going to get all battery. Just show him this video. And so we have to be looking at also that way in which we are having conversations with our allies. And that's coming from a perspective of a black person, but also in terms of what women need to be asking for in this country. We need to look at how we're training our allies to have these conversations with us. I know in the black community, a lot of the problems that we face are economically based. So I always tell people, I got this from a brother online. He says, white allies have black receipts, and it doesn't get any simpler than that. You know what I mean? And in terms of women, like, we need to be saying male allies understand this is my body, and it doesn't get any simpler than that. And so we also need to be training people on how they go out into the world and represent us.
That's right.
I'm sorry, you got me fired up, girl. I'm ready.
Listen, that's what I like to do. Whenever I always tell people, if I'm going to interview you, I say 30 minutes, it's going to be at least an hour. That's just what, and I'm never going to interrupt. So I will close it with that because I cannot follow up. And I think that is amazing. And everything you are saying is real. It's valid. I thank you. And I know you're going to keep it going. We definitely have to talk offline about more opportunities, and make sure you get your benefits and stuff. And that's, we are an equal employment opportunity, all that stuff. But I want to encourage everyone who's watching this to make sure, if you don't have the book, you have never read the book, you don't have to be a young adult to read the book. It's called I'm Not Dying With You Tonight. You need to go and purchase, Uncle Bobby's or Sankofa Cafe and book. You know, let's leave Barnes and Noble alone for a sec. Let's go and support Black businesses and buy Kimberly Jones' book. I will say it again. I'm Not Dying With You Tonight. And we're looking forward to the film. I know it was just like announced today.
It was just announced today.
Yes,
so there's not a whole lot of details yet that I can share about it. But yes, it's becoming a film and I'm super excited about it. I've had a big day today. So they announced the film and then they also announced my book, which is gonna, go into more details than my viral video. So Henry Holt announced that today. And then also I got a new job at Boat Run Lead. So all three things were announced today.
This is just dope. You're having a really, really good day. And I think that's beautiful. All right. So, Kimberly, thank you so much. And Erin says thank you. I mean, we'll see her later. We're going to see her anyway.
Hi, Erin. I'll see you at work tomorrow. On the Zoom call, on the work Zoom call.
Right. I'm so tired of Zoom calls, though. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and your time. And here are some bamboo flowers and gifts for you. All of it. Yes. Receive it all. I'm wishing you so much success. And we will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.